There is a place high in the world where the air is thin and the stars are close enough to feel like company, where the mountains do not end so much as become the sky, where the wind moves across stone terraces in the dark and the only sound for a long time is that wind. And then the sound of water somewhere below, following the path carved for it long ago by hands that understood the mountain and worked with it rather than against it. We are going there now. Let the ground beneath you soften. Let the sounds around you begin to belong to somewhere else. Let the breath come easily, slowly, without effort. There is no hurry here. There has never been any hurry here. The mountain has been patient for 10,000 years and it is patient still. And tonight it will hold you, quietly, in the dark. The path begins below the cloud line. You have been climbing for some time, not hard climbing. Not the kind that demands everything from the legs and the lungs, but the steady, rhythmic climbing of a trail that has been used so often, it has become part of the mountain's own surface, worn into it like a river's channel. Inevitable, certain, the path that the mountain has accepted as its own. The stone beneath your feet is fitted, each piece placed with deliberate care, set into the slope with an understanding of angle and drainage, and the way water moves when the rains come. The edges of the trail are defined by stones set slightly higher, guiding you, containing you gently within the corridor of the path without requiring you to think about where to step. You simply walk. The path receives you. The air at this elevation is something you feel before you think about it. A quality of lightness, a slight thinning that makes each breath a little more deliberate, a little more conscious, without being difficult. You breathe, and the breath is enough, and the next breath comes, and it is also enough, and the body adjusts the way bodies do, quietly, without complaint, finding its rhythm in the new air as it finds its rhythm in everything. Around you, on either side of the path, the terraces begin. They descend the slope in long horizontal steps, each one retained by a wall of fitted stone, each wall rising from the terrace below with a precision that has not shifted in 5 centuries. The terraces are dark now, their soil bare and resting in the night, but you can feel the memory of cultivation in them, the sense of purposeful earth, soil that has been worked and tended and known. Each terrace is slightly different in width from the one above and below it, the geometry adapting to the mountain's own inclinations, the human architecture in conversation with the natural one rather than imposed upon it. You walk upward. The cloud is just ahead of you, not threatening, simply present, a soft boundary in the air, a place where the visibility changes. As you enter it, the world around you quiets further. The edges of things become less certain. The terraces on either side of the path dissolve into pale suggestion. The sound of your footsteps becomes more immediate, more interior, the only clear thing in the muffled air. And then you are through it. The city appears the way certain things appear in the mountains suddenly, completely, with the quality of a revelation that was always inevitable. One moment, the path, the cloud, the pale air. The next moment, stone and structure, and the ordered geometry of a place built to last. It is not large in the way that lowland cities are large. It does not spread across the ground the way cities do when they have unlimited space available to them. It is compact, intentional, built into the saddle between 2 peaks with a precision that speaks of careful planning over a long time, the placement of each structure in relation to the ones around it, to the peaks above, to the rising and setting of the sun at significant moments in the year. The buildings are stone, not rough stone, fitted stone, the same fitted stone as the path and the terraces. Each block placed against its neighbor with a closeness that requires no mortar, that relies instead on the exactness of the join, on the patient shaping of each face until it meets its neighbor truly. Running your fingers along a wall, you would feel the seam only as a faint line, a place where one stone ends and the next begins, the join so close but the wall presents itself as a single surface. The city is quiet. This hour deep in the night, the clouds below, the stars above, belongs to no one's schedule. The fires inside the buildings have burned down to coals, and the light that seeps through the narrow doorways is the low amber of embers, rather than the bright flicker of active flame. Shadows are soft here. Edges are soft. The geometry of the buildings, which in daylight would be crisp and deliberate, in this hour has something dreaming about it. You enter through a gap in the outer wall. The gap is not a gate in any formal sense, simply an opening, aligned with the path, where the wall steps back on either side to allow passage. There is no door, no barrier. The city does not close itself against the night. It simply rests in it, breathing in it, the way the people inside it rest and breathe. The first open space inside the wall is a long rectangle of flat ground, a plaza, though the word makes it sound more formal than it feels. It is simply an expanse of level stone in the midst of the terraced, sloping world, a place where the ground has been made flat and wide, where people can gather, where the sky above is fully visible without the terraces or the walls interrupting it. The sky above the plaza is extraordinary. You have seen stars tonight, on the path and on the road before it, but here, at this elevation, with the cloud below you and nothing between you and the sky in any direction, the stars are not simply numerous, they are architectural. They describe the sky the way the terraces describe the mountain, in layers, in depth, in a structure that the eye can move through as it moves through space, the near stars and the far stars, and the ancient smear of the galaxy crossing overhead in a broad river of cold fire. You stand in the center of the plaza and look up for a long time. There is a stone at the center of the plaza, a single upright stone, not tall, reaching perhaps to the waist, set into the level ground with the same precision as everything else in this city. It casts no shadow now. The night is too diffuse for shadows, but you understand that in the daylight, in the morning, this stone's shadow moves across the plaza's surface in an arc that has been observed and recorded and understood for generations. A stone that tells time. A stone that speaks to the sun on its behalf. You rest your hand briefly on the top of the stone. It is cold, not the cold of neglect, but the cold of altitude, the cold of a thing that has stood open to the sky for many years and taken that sky's temperature into itself. The cold travels from the stone into your palm, and then through the palm, and then disperses, and you lift your hand, and the warmth returns. The plaza holds the silence. Above it, the stars hold their arrangement, the ones that this city's people named and tracked and organized their year around, the ones that told them when to plant and when to harvest and when the rains would come. You do not know those names, but the stars are indifferent to that. They are simply there, performing their slow rotation, their patient permanence, as they were before this city was built, and as they will be long after its stones have been absorbed back into the mountain. On the eastern side of the plaza, a doorway opens into a longer building, low and narrow, its roof thatched with the mountain grass that grows at this elevation, its walls the same fitted stone as everything else, but this close, in this light, showing the faint variations in color that different stone carries, the slight differences in texture and mineral content that make each block unique within the uniformity of the whole. You step through the doorway. The interior is a single long room. The ceiling is low enough that the space feels immediately close, held, the proportions human in the most literal sense scaled to the body, to the need for warmth and shelter at this elevation where the cold can be serious. Along one wall, a series of niches have been cut into the stone, each one the depth of an arm, each one shaped with the same care as everything else in this place. In some of the niches, objects rest. Vessels of fired clay, their surfaces smooth and unpainted, holding their shapes in the dark. A folded cloth, its weave too fine to make out in this light, lying across a wooden shelf below a niche, with a composure that suggests it has been placed here with intention. A small ceramic figure, seated, its features worn to suggestion by time and handling. The smell in this room is particular and good. Dry grass and old wood, and the residue of many fires in the small hearth near the far end. Not the smell of active fire, but the deeper smell of fire, absorbed over many years into the clay and stone of the hearth itself, into the walls that surround it, into the air that has never quite lost the warmth that every fire here has left behind. It is the smell of habitation, of a space that has been lived in for a long time by people who took care of it. The hearth still holds a faint glow. Not flame, the fire has been banked for the night, coals covered with ash to preserve them until morning. The ancient practice of keeping the fire alive through the cold, dark hours, so that the labor of starting it does not need to be repeated. The glow is very faint, just enough to be visible in the room's darkness, just enough to suggest warmth without insisting on light. A reddish pulse, almost imperceptible, at the center of the hearth. You sit near it, not close enough to feel heat. There is no heat at this distance, only the idea of it, the knowledge that warmth is present in the coals even if it doesn't reach you. But sitting near a hearth, even a sleeping one, is its own kind of comfort. The presence of fire, banked and patient, waiting for morning. The evidence of someone's care in banking it correctly, in covering the coals, in doing the small necessary thing that keeps the fire alive through the night. Outside, the wind moves across the thatched roof in a long, continuous breath. You hear it arrive, increase, pass, diminish, then arrive again. The rhythm of mountain wind, not the irregular gusts of lower places, but something more measured, more inevitable. The wind that belongs to altitude and open sky, and has been crossing this particular saddle between these two particular peaks since before anyone built anything here to deflect it or receive it. The thatch responds in small sounds, a rustling, a settling, then quiet, then the wind again. You breathe with it. There is another doorway at the far end of the long room. You pass through it into a narrower passage that runs between two buildings, roofless, open to the sky, the stones on either side rising perhaps twice your height, and the strip of sky above it very dark and very full of stars. Your footsteps in this passage are absorbed by the stone on both sides, return to you from two directions simultaneously, a brief doubling that gives the sound a depth it doesn't have in open space. The passage deposits you, after a short distance, into a smaller enclosure, a garden perhaps, or a ceremonial space. You cannot be entirely certain in this light, and from this remove in time. The ground here is different from the plaza's level stone, softer, slightly yielding, a prepared soil within the enclosure's stone walls. Along the walls, at regular intervals, the stumps of what were once plants of some kind, their remnants too dried and dark to identify. In the center of the enclosure, a shallow stone basin, roughly circular, its interior surface darker than its exterior from the presence of water over many years. The mineral trace of the water that has been poured here, or that has gathered here from the rain. There is water in it now, just a thin collection of rainwater or dew at the basin's lowest point, reflecting the stars above it with a clarity that surprises you. The sky is in the basin, inverted, still, exactly itself, and yet contained in this small circle of stone, the great arc of the galaxy crossing the basin's reflected sky in miniature. The individual stars present, and particular, even in this tiny mirror. You crouch beside it. The reflected sky is very beautiful and very still. The surface of the water, which should tremble in the mountain wind, is somehow sheltered here within the enclosure, within the basin's stone walls, and lies nearly flat, its reflection nearly perfect. You can see your own shape above it, blocking a patch of stars, a dark form against the luminous dark. You are in the reflection too. You are part of the sky that the basin is holding. The mountain above the city is present without being seen. You know it is there. You have been climbing toward it all night, and its mass is something you feel in the air, in the gradient of the cold, in the way the wind comes from a certain direction and no other. It is there, enormous and patient, the way mountains are enormous and patient, which is to say, in a way that makes all other enormity feel approximate. You leave the enclosure through an opening in its eastern wall and find yourself on a narrower terrace, a working one rather than a ceremonial one. The soil here, richer looking even in the dark, the retaining wall lower, the sense of a space used practically rather than formally. The terrace curves with the mountain's contour, and after a short distance opens a view. The view is of clouds, below the city, below the path you climbed. The clouds you passed through on the way up have settled into the valley in a dense, level mass that fills the space between the mountains from one side to the other. They are silver in the starlight, with an interior darkness that suggests depth, layers, the miles of cloud that make up that silvered surface. At the far edges of the valley, the mountains rise from the cloud, the way islands rise from the sea. Their base is hidden, their peaks clear in the cold, dry air above. You are above the clouds. The city is above the clouds. Down there, below that silver surface, the world is wet and close, and the sound is muffled, and the distances are short. Up here, the air is dry, and the distances are extraordinary, and the silence is so complete that you can hear your own blood. You stand at the terrace edge for a long time. The clouds below breathe slowly, their surface shifting in long undulations. The moonlight, you hadn't noticed the moon until now. It has been behind the peaks, but it has cleared them now, and it hangs low and full in the southern sky. Very bright, the moonlight moves across the cloud surface in traveling patches of silver that expand and contract as the clouds shift. The mountain is very quiet. The city behind you is very quiet. The world below is very far away. You find the water channel when you are not looking for it. You have turned from the terrace view and are walking along the narrow path that runs between the outer wall of the city and the first row of buildings, and your foot finds the channel before your eyes do a slight change in the stone surface, a groove, and then the sound. Water, moving water, channeled through the stone in a cut so precise and so clean that the water runs in it with no turbulence, no sound of catching or splashing, simply the smooth, continuous sound of something finding its way along the path that has been made for it. You follow the channel. It runs along the base of the outer wall and then angles inward, cutting through the wall itself through a gap barely wide enough for the water, and follows a course through the city that you trace by sound as much as by sight, the sound of the water, always just ahead of you, always just at the edge of visibility in the dark. A murmur that leads you through the narrower streets between buildings, around a corner, along a longer building's base, and then down a short flight of steps cut into the stone. At the bottom of the steps, the channel widens. A fountain, not the carved face fountains of warmer climates, but something more fundamental, more in keeping with the mountain's character, a stone trough, long and narrow, into which the channeled water falls from a height of perhaps a handspan, the single most musical sound in the city. The small percussion of falling water against still water, steady and unchanging. The same sound it has made in this stone trough every hour of every day, for as long as the channel has brought water to this place. You sit beside it on a stone that has been placed there for exactly this purpose, a seat-shaped stone, low and flat, set at an angle that allows someone sitting on it to look along the length of the trough and hear the falling water without being in its spray. Someone designed this. Someone understood that a person sitting beside water in the dark should be comfortable, should be placed at the right angle, should be close enough to hear, but not so close as to be wet or cold. Someone thought about that person, the person sitting here in the future, whoever they might be, and arranged the stone accordingly. You are that person. You sit in the place that was prepared for you centuries before you arrived, and you listen to the water fall, and the sound of it is one of the most uncomplicated things you have heard in a long time. Water falling a short distance into other water. The same note, repeated without variation, without ambition, without any intention beyond the simple execution of what water does when it is given a height and a surface below. The cold deepens toward what must be the middle of the night. You notice it first in the hands, then in the air against your face. This is high-altitude cold, not the damp cold of valleys, but something cleaner and more total. A cold that comes from the simple fact of height and clear sky, and the absence of anything between you and the dark. You pull the woven cloth you have been carrying more closely around you, and the cold retreats slightly, not gone but held, the woven cloth doing what it was made to do. The cloth is heavy, and the weave is tight, and the pattern in it, which you can only suggest to yourself in this darkness, can only feel at the edges where your fingers grip it, is something geometric and repeated. The same elements arranged in a sequence that comes back to its beginning and starts again. You have felt patterns like this before. You will feel them again. They are the patterns that human hands return to when they are given fiber and a loom, and the long hours of winter, the repetition that becomes, through its repetition, something close to meditation, the hand moving in the same motions again and again, until the mind empties itself into the pattern and rests there. The woven cloth smells faintly of the same dried grass as the room with the hearth, and of something else, something warm and animal and honest. The smell of the fiber itself, of the creature it came from, of the high mountain pastures, where those creatures graze in the cold air and the thin light, a living smell, in cloth that has been made and used and carried, and is now keeping you warm in the dark. You are grateful for it. On the northern side of the city, behind a row of lower buildings, the ground rises steeply. Steps have been cut here too, but steeper than the terraced steps of the agricultural slopes, more ceremonial in their proportion, each step a little taller than is comfortable, so that ascending them requires an effort that is itself a kind of intention, a deliberate act of climbing towards something. You climb them. There are perhaps 20 steps. At the top, a flat space, a promontory, a platform, a place from which the city below and the mountains around it, and the cloud sea beneath them, and the sky above, are all simultaneously visible. This is the highest point of the city. The wind here is more direct, less deflected by buildings and walls, arriving at you cleanly from the east, where the mountains drop away toward the jungle, carrying with it a coolness that has traveled a long way. There is a stone here too, larger than the one in the plaza, not upright, but reclining, a great flat stone set at a slight angle. Its surface carved in ways that you can feel with your fingers more than see in this light. Curved lines and straight lines, and a depression at the center that might be meant to hold water. The carved lines radiate from the center depression outward toward the edges of the stone, in patterns that might be representations of something, the paths of stars, the roots of rivers, the layout of lands seen from a height. You sit beside this stone and look out. The full panorama of the night opens around you. To the east, the mountains descend in a long sequence of ridges that diminish in the distance until they meet the beginning of a different kind of dark, the jungle dark, which is not the empty dark of the sky, but a full dark, a living dark, the dark of 10,000 things existing together. You cannot see it from here, not at night, not at this distance, but you know it is there in the way you know mountains are there when cloud covers them. Something about the air, about the direction of warmth and moisture. To the west, the peaks rise again, snow on them above a certain line, the snow pale in the moonlight, the peaks themselves enormous and simple and completely indifferent. Below you, the city sleeps, the thatched roofs, the stone walls, the terraces descending to the cloud, the plaza with its single upright stone, the long building with its banked hearth, the garden enclosure with its basin holding the sky, the channel carrying its water through the dark to the trough that never stops sounding. All of it is there, below you, contained within its walls, held in its high saddle between the peaks, doing what it has always done in the night, simply existing, resting, maintaining itself in the dark with the same quiet faithfulness that the hearth coals maintain their warmth. You descend from the promontory slowly. There is no reason to rush. There is never any reason to rush in a place like this, at an hour like this. The descent is easier than the ascent, as descents tend to be, and the stone steps receive your feet with the same reliability they always have, the same fitted certainty of a surface that was made to last and has lasted. At the base of the steps, a doorway you haven't entered yet. It is smaller than the others, narrower, its lintel low, requiring you to bow your head slightly as you enter, which feels appropriate, which feels like the right posture for entering a space that has been used for quiet things. Inside, the room is small and almost entirely dark. No hearth here. One niche in the far wall in which something rests you cannot see what it is. Only a shape, a presence. Something placed with care and left. There is a smell in this room of something sweet and dried. Herbs, perhaps, or flowers pressed when they were still living and dried slowly in the mountain air, their scent concentrating as the moisture left them, becoming more purely itself through the drying. The smell is faint and ancient and entirely pleasant. You breathe it in, you let your back find the wall, and you slide down it until you are sitting on the floor of this small room, your knees drawn up, the cloth around you, the dried flower smell in the air, and the single niche with its quiet occupant across from you. And beyond the low doorway, the night, the city, the mountain, the stars, the whole enormous patient world. The room is very still, stiller than the plaza, stiller than the terrace, stiller than the promontory with its direct wind. This is interior stillness, the stillness of enclosed stone, of small space and low ceiling and walls that have absorbed the quiet of many hours like this one. The stone around you is not cold here. You notice this gradually, the way you notice things when you are not looking for them. The stone is not warm, exactly, but it is not cold either. It is the temperature of something that has been slowly, over a long time, exchanged its temperature with the air it contains, and come to an agreement. You are in agreement with the room. Time passes without marking itself. This is one of the gifts of very old places and very late hours, the dissolution of time's usual insistence, the sense that one moment leads to the next, in a chain that must be tracked and managed fades, and what remains is simply duration, the simple fact of continuing, breath following breath, the room holding you, the mountain holding the room, the night holding everything. You think, without exactly thinking, about the people who built this, not about them as historical subjects, not their dates, or their kings, or the facts of their civilization's rise and fall, simply about them as people. The person who fitted the stone of this wall, who selected each block and shaped it and placed it against its neighbor with care. The person who cut the channel for the water and tested it to ensure the water would run cleanly. The person who placed the seat stone beside the trough at the exact right angle. The person who banked the coals in the hearth tonight, covering them with ash, trusting them to hold their warmth until morning. These are human acts. They require nothing more or less than the ordinary human capacities: care, attention, patience, the willingness to do a thing correctly, the willingness to think about whoever will come next, whoever will sit beside the trough, whoever will need the coals to still be alive in the morning, whoever will walk the path in the dark and need it to be reliable underfoot. the ordinary human capacity for thinking about people you will never meet, for doing the work that serves them anyway. The cold has reached its deepest point. You know this not because it becomes more cold, but because something in it changes a quality of finality, of having arrived at the night's furthest reach. The cold that precedes the dawn, the still point of the night before, it begins its long return toward warmth. You are very tired now. The tiredness is total and without urgency. It has no edge to it, no anxiety, no resistance. It is the tiredness of a body that has walked and climbed and sat and listened for a long time, that has breathed the cold air and felt the stone and heard the water and watched the stars, that has received everything the night offered and is now prepared, finally, to set it down. Your eyes are heavy. The room is safe and still. The cloth is warm. The dried flower smell is in the air. Outside, beyond the low doorway, the city breathes in its sleep the terraces and the plaza and the thatched roofs and the stone walls and the long building with the hearth coals pulsing faintly and the channel carrying its water through the dark and the trough sounding its single note, over and over, patient and complete. The mountain holds it all. The mountain has always held it all. Let the breath slow. Let the body be heavy against the stone, and let the stone receive it, and let the warmth of the cloth be enough, and let the dried flower smell be enough, and let the sound of the water which reaches you even here, even in this small room, as the faintest thread of sound, constant and clean, let that sound be the last thing you follow. It goes nowhere. It simply continues. The water falls into the trough. The trough receives it. The mountain holds the trough. The night holds the mountain. The stars hold the night. And somewhere below the stars, in a small room in a stone city, set high between two peaks above the clouds, you are being held too, as completely and as quietly as any of these things are held. The Inca built their cities in the sky because they understood something that is easy to forget at lower elevations, in louder places, in faster times. That the sky is not empty, that the space between the stars is not absence, that the silence of a high place at night is not the silence of nothing. It is the silence of something very large and very old, breathing very slowly, holding everything it contains with a patience that does not ask to be acknowledged, that does not require your attention or your understanding. It simply holds, as it has always held, as it holds you now. Let your eyes close. Let the mountain be large around you. Let the water sound its single note in the dark. Let the stars do what they have always done. Let the cold be what it is, and the cloth what it is, and the stone what it is, and the room what it is, and the night what it is. And let yourself go, without effort, without intention, into the deep rest that has been waiting here for you. In the high city, in the stone room, in the cold and generous dark, above the clouds, beneath the stars. Sleep now.